What if I told you that one of the biggest names in combat sports walked into WWE and exposed a truth so uncomfortable that the company spent years trying to cover it up? Ronda Rousey didn't just break arms in WWE, she broke the fourth wall, and what came out changed everything. Welcome back to Suplex Rumble, where we dive deep into the stories that shake the wrestling world to its core. I'm your host, and today we're talking about how the baddest woman on the planet became the most dangerous truth-teller in sports entertainment. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because this story gets wild. Let's rewind to 2018, WrestleMania 34. The WWE universe is buzzing because Ronda Rousey, the woman who legitimized women's MMA, the former UFC champion who made opponents tap out in seconds, is making her in-ring debut. Now, WWE had brought in celebrity athletes before. Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, even Ronda's fellow UFC stars. But Rousey was different. She wasn't just making an appearance, she was going full-time. She was putting on the boots, learning the craft, and stepping into a world where predetermined outcomes were part of the art form. And here's where it gets interesting. Ronda was a lifelong wrestling fan. She grew up watching Roddy Piper, idolized the spectacle, and understood what wrestling was supposed to be. But she also came from a world of legitimate competition, where wins and losses were real, where every bruise told a true story. WWE gave her the red carpet treatment. They positioned her as an unstoppable force, booked her to look dominant, and fast-tracked her to championship gold. Within months, she was Raw Women's Champion. The Ronda Rousey experiment seemed like a massive success, but something was brewing beneath the surface. Because Ronda wasn't just playing a character, she was watching, learning, and starting to see the cracks in the foundation. Throughout 2018 and into 2019, Ronda Rousey was everywhere. She main event pay-per-views, had killer matches with Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, and Charlotte Flair. At WrestleMania 35, she made history as part of the first-ever women's main event at the Showcase of the Immortals alongside Becky Lynch and Charlotte. But behind the scenes, tensions were rising. Reports started leaking about Ronda's frustrations with the schedule, with the politics, with the way storylines were being handled. And then, after WrestleMania 35, she walked away. For years, fans wondered what really happened. Was it the schedule? Was it to start a family? Those were the official reasons. But when Ronda started speaking out, we got the real story, and it was a truth bomb that WWE didn't see coming. In interviews and on her social media, Ronda began pulling back the curtain. She talked about fans who couldn't separate reality from performance, who would send death threats over scripted storylines. She called out the toxic elements of wrestling fandom that WWE had cultivated for decades. But here's the big one, the embarrassing truth that made WWE executives squirm. Ronda Rousey called professional wrestling fake, and not in the way insiders do with a wink and a nod. She called it out with frustration, saying that fans who knew it was scripted would still attack her as if she were actually the villain in real life. Now, hold on. Before you think this is just another outsider not getting the business, you need to understand what Ronda was actually saying. Here's where we need to get real for a moment. Everyone knows wrestling is predetermined. Fans know it, wrestlers know it, WWE knows that we know. It's the oldest open secret in entertainment. We call it sports entertainment for a reason. But what Ronda exposed wasn't the predetermined nature of wrestling, it was the hypocrisy of how WWE and its fanbase treat that reality. WWE spends enormous amounts of energy protecting kayfabe, the illusion that what happens in the ring is a legitimate competition. They script everything down to the minute, produce storylines like a television drama, and then market it with the intensity of real athletic competition. And fans play along, investing emotionally, choosing sides, and living and dying with every win and loss. But here's the uncomfortable part Ronda highlighted: when things don't go the way fans want, when their favorite doesn't get pushed, when someone they don't like gets a championship, those same fans who know it's scripted will turn around and act like the performers themselves are responsible. They'll send hate mail, issue threats, and blur the lines between character and person. Ronda came from a world where if you lost, it was on you. Your preparation, your skill, your performance that night. In WWE, if you're not over with the crowd, if your character isn't working, it might be the writing, the booking, or just bad timing. But wrestlers still get blamed as if they're controlling everything. She also called out something else, and this is where it got really spicy. Ronda said that WWE uses the predetermined nature of wrestling to protect itself from criticism while simultaneously expecting performers to take real physical risks and real emotional abuse from fans. Think about it. WWE can change any outcome at any time, push whoever they want, bury whoever they want, and if fans complain, they can always say it's just part of the story. But the wrestlers? They're out there taking bumps, risking injury, getting hit with real criticism for fake losses. And when Ronda said wrestling was fake, she wasn't insulting the athleticism or the artistry. She was calling out the system that allowed a company to hide behind fiction while exposing its performers to very real consequences. So how did WWE respond? Publicly, they mostly stayed quiet. That's the WWE playbook. When someone goes off script in real life, you don't give it oxygen, you let it blow over. But the wrestling community had opinions. Hardcore fans defended the business, saying Ronda never truly understood wrestling culture. Veterans of the industry gave mixed responses. Some agreed that fan toxicity had gotten out of control, others felt Ronda was biting the hand that fed her. What made this whole situation even more fascinating was what happened next. Ronda eventually returned to WWE in 2022. She came back for the Royal Rumble, won it, and had another run with the company. But this time, something was different. WWE started leaning into Ronda's real-life frustrations. They turned her heel, had her cut promos about how ungrateful the fans were, and basically weaponized her real feelings into storyline gold. It was meta, it was uncomfortable, and it was absolutely fascinating television. They worked shoot elements into her character, blurring those lines again, but this time with more intention. Ronda's second run became about a fighter who was done playing by WWE's rules, done pandering to a fanbase she felt didn't appreciate her. And here's the thing, it worked better than her first run in some ways, because it felt real. It felt like Ronda was finally able to be herself, frustrations and all. So what's the embarrassing truth Ronda Rousey really exposed? It's this: WWE has built an empire on a beautiful contradiction, and that contradiction is getting harder to maintain in the age of social media and constant connectivity. Wrestling asks us to suspend disbelief while also being constantly reminded that it's performance art. It asks performers to take real risks for fake outcomes while protecting the company from accountability. It cultivates passionate fandoms while struggling to control the toxic elements those fandoms can create. Ronda came from the outside and said what a lot of people inside the business think but can't say. She had the credibility, the platform, and apparently no interest in protecting the machine. Was she right? Was she wrong? Here's the truth: she was probably both. Wrestling is complicated. It's art and athletics, fiction and reality, scripted and spontaneous all at once. That's what makes it beautiful, but it's also what makes it messy. What Ronda forced WWE to confront was that you can't have it both ways forever. You can't ask fans to invest emotionally in predetermined outcomes and then be surprised when they struggle to separate character from performer. You can't protect yourself behind the curtain while pushing talent out in front of it to take all the heat. The embarrassing truth isn't that wrestling is fake, we all know that. The embarrassing truth is that the system WWE built requires everyone to pretend we don't know, and that pretending comes at a cost, especially for the performers. Ronda Rousey's time in WWE was controversial, groundbreaking, and ultimately complicated. She was a massive star who helped elevate women's wrestling, but she also became a mirror that reflected some uncomfortable realities back at the industry. Whether you think she was a truth-teller or someone who never truly understood the business, one thing is clear: she made WWE and the wrestling world have conversations that needed to happen. What do you think? Was Ronda right to call out the system, or did she miss the point of what makes wrestling special? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, smash the like button and subscribe to Suplex Rumble for more stories from inside and outside the ring. Thanks for watching, and remember, in wrestling, the truth is always more complicated than it seems. Use dynamic graphics and text overlays for key quotes and moments. Background music should be energetic but not overpowering. Include relevant WWE-approved images and graphics, properly licensed. Add timestamps and description for easy navigation. Encourage discussion in comments with specific questions. Pin a thoughtful comment to start conversation.